Let's talk about banking in China. It is one of the hardest part of your corporate setup, especially if you are from a country considered high risk. How it works in theory. You open Chinese company, you bring your documents to the domestic bank, they check them, open account, done. But here how it works in real life. Most banks will send someone to inspect your real office, ask you to bring the legal representative in person, and if the structure looks sensitive, they take some time to think or to confirm with headquarters. Sensitive in China means when owner or director is from a high-risk country, as defined by China. Russia and all the countries around Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Armenia, Belarus, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, all of them. Then Iran, Syria, Palestine, Lebanon, Israel, UAE, Sudan, Nigeria, a lot of countries are considered sensitive in China. That's my story too. By 2018, my Chinese company opened accounts in major Chinese banks. Bank of China, ICBC, no problem. By 2022, only some small regional banks would consider us. By 2023, they started to block international payments. No official reason, just hints like we suggest you to close this account. In 2024, almost all Chinese banks stopped opening accounts for Russian directors at all, unless some local trusted partner guarantees your case. There are only a couple SDN banks, sanctioned Chinese banks, who often agrees to onboard you. But they probably don't make sense for your business. I will cover it in a minute. That's why now account opening is a serious bottleneck. Some founders wait weeks and months. Others never get approved, so don't assume it will work for sure. Always check bank options available personally for you before you register the company. What accounts can you open? Your Chinese company can have a CNY basic account, required to pay taxes, staff, rent, and you can use it for payments inside China. A foreign currency account, used to receive and pay USD, Euro, etc. You can use it only for international payments and it requires additional approval. Once you have both, you can receive and send international payments. But here is the thing with China. Every international transfer must be explained. No exceptions. All of them. Here is what Chinese banks check. Does your activity match the payment? Do the invoice contract match custom declaration? Are you sending or receiving from any sensitive country? If something doesn't look right for them, they will delay or reject the payment. Here is an important note about Chinese culture and society. You will rarely hear the word no directly. Instead, you will hear something like, now it is difficult to open accounts for foreigners, we need to confirm first, right now we can't process the payment because need to wait, and then silence. No straight answer. It's not in Chinese culture to refuse and explain you the reason. So you need to read between the lines or get someone third party who will get an official answer in private conversations. What else is important? Outgoing transfers are harder than incoming. As I said, every international payments need explanation, especially when you send money out of China. If you are paying a supplier abroad, you will show not only the invoice and contract, you will be also asked custom declarations and even staff payroll reports and tax filings, especially for the large amount. What if you are paying for services abroad? That's even harder. In most cases, service payments to foreign providers are taxable and need special approval. In our experience, they are rarely approved for small companies. That's why most of Chinese founders don't even try. They open a Hong Kong company to pay their international contractors. So if your business model needs global transfers, plan for it. One more thing to note here. When you pay or receive money abroad, your counterparty's country may cause problems too. Even if your business is clean, the payment source matters. More and more Chinese banks start to refuse payments from UAE and reject transfers from the offshore companies in BVI, Belize and Seychelles. That's why many Chinese companies now open also a Hong Kong entity just to accept payments from certain clients. So if your international counterparties are from tricky countries, plan ahead. Ask your bank if they can accept payments from your client's country, test small transfers before you scale, and don't assume that if it's not illegal, it'll be fine. In China, internal unwritten policy rules everything. And one more thing here. Not all banks are equal. Some local banks are easier to open with, but they can change policy without notice. One day they accept money from some country, the next day they block it. Our case, we opened an account in our Chinese bank, then we sent money from Hong Kong to China, it worked 2 months, and then blocked. Now the account is working, but only inside China. Another case, my Chinese company had a regional bank account. Then at one day, the bank stopped processing any foreign payments. The account wasn't closed. Something changed inside the bank. Only offline, a manager told us the truth. Head office told us to gradually freeze companies with Russian directors. Doesn't matter you don't have activities with sensitive countries, we just need to freeze it. What about big names like ICBC or Bank of China? There were times when we advised clients against them. Their online service is so outdated. Now things changed. Online services remain outdated, but those clients to whom we opened the account there still can use it. This is because big banks in China have more resources to monitor your payments. As a result, they can afford to continue working with you. So what's the lesson? If you can open an account in a major Chinese bank, do it. They are stricter, but more stable in the long run. Always have 2-3 bank accounts if possible, and diversify between these accounts your operations. Keep active all of them. What about Chinese banks from SDN list? Some smaller banks in China are under international restrictions. And yes, they may open account for founders from sanctioned countries or those with the highest risk profile. But these accounts come with major limitations. No access to USD and Euro. Most other currencies are also restricted. These banks only work for very narrow cases: China-Russia trade, China-Iran trade, or local transactions inside China. So what happens if you use them? You may lose access to global finance, international transfers won't work, and if your operations grow, there is a chance your company get flagged or even sanctioned. In short, these banks are not a reliable solution for global trade. What else is important about Chinese banks? Face verification is now mandatory. Since 2023, most banks require an in-person verification of a legal rep, including face scan. This applies when opening a new account, changing directors or company information, activating online banking. So if the legal rep is a foreigner, they must come in person to the branch, and sometimes only to the one branch where your company was registered. So make sure your legal representative can travel to China every now and then. A couple of words about online banking. Most Chinese banks offer online banking, but Chinese version is usually more accurate and has more functions than English one. Interfaces are outdated, and using it requires physical security tokens, usually 2 or more, like USB keys. Those tokens you can assign to different users and set up trusted employees to handle payments from different locations. But you better have someone with Chinese skills to operate it. And most of these tokens only work on Windows with specific browsers. Okay, Chinese bank account are the only payment option you'll probably need, but there are more. Offshore account. This is when a Chinese company opens an account in other country. Chinese businesses use it when they operate in other regions. But guess what? Of course, it requires special approval and it is extremely hard to obtain. So it doesn't make sense for you. If you need global payments, just open a company in Hong Kong or Singapore. We will talk about them in future videos. What if you have individual clients inside China? Then most payments happen with QR codes. 2 platforms, Alipay and WeChat Pay. They're used by everyone. You can activate them for your business after your bank account is ready. Bottom line, banking in China is no longer easy, but it is doable if you plan for it. Prepare full documentation. Be ready to visit China sometimes. If you are sensitive, know your options in advance. Learn how to read Chinese between the lines. Choose your bank wisely and activate QR if you work locally. But above all, Make sure Chinese payment options fit your business. In the next video, we will talk about taxes, how VAT works in China, how much you will pay in income tax, social insurance, withholding and other taxes, what you need to consider regarding your expenses so your company doesn't burn extra money. Subscribe to stay tuned, send this video to entrepreneurs who do business with China, and let's keep going.